So, good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner Dave Yamamoto. Today is Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, and we will call this community update meeting to order at 8 a.m. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to please mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute yourself when called to speak, again pressing *6. It is very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you so much. So again, I'd like to welcome everyone to our weekly Tuesday morning community update. And let's start with the Commissioner's roll call. Commissioner Scar, are you with us?
Good morning, I am.
Good morning. And Commissioner Bell?
Good morning.
Good morning. Hope everyone's enjoying this nice, bright, sunny morning so far. It's perfect. Let's move right into Adventist Health Tillamook, and I'm hoping that we have Eric Swanson with us. I know we do, as a matter of fact.
You do, Commissioner. Good morning.
Good morning.
Inpatient census this morning is 10 plus one brand new baby. No COVID patients today that are inpatients. No patients boarding in the emergency department, so those are both good news items. 6 surgery cases today. All 6 are elective or non-urgent. We had yesterday, our paramedics transported 4 911 transports, 1 transfer, no transports home. The number of hospitalized patients with COVID-19 across Oregon is 328, 1 more than yesterday. There are 38 COVID-19 patients in intensive care unit beds, 5 more than yesterday, 13 are on ventilators. 3.1% of all emergency department visits across Oregon were for COVID-like illnesses, and there were 4,007 of those visits, ED visits, yesterday across Oregon. In Region 1, we have 24 available adult ICU beds out of 354 total. That's 7% availability. And there's 90 available adult non-ICU beds out of 1,917, or 5% availability in the region. On last week, on the 18th, Dr. Peter Graven from OHSU did his COVID forecast. And he's reporting that as of the 18th, 292 people were in Oregon hospitals with COVID. That's 106 fewer than 2 weeks earlier, and a 38% drop from the peak of 464 back on July 17th. While most regions in Oregon were down from their peak, Region 5, which is Josephine and Jackson counties in southern Oregon, are still at peak. All regions in the U.S. Have a declining hospital census per capita, and he's reporting that the South Atlantic region did have a higher level than other regions. But he's still continuing to report that due to the high prevalence of infections and low hospitalization rate, a significant share of hospitalizations are expected to be incidental, which again is good news. You come in for a hip replacement, we COVID test you, and you end up with a positive COVID test. That's incidental. And the peak was on July 17th, and at the peak, it was estimated that 56% of those hospitalized were incidental. Let's see. What else do I need to tell you here? Oh, as of the 14th, 6 children were in Oregon hospitals with COVID, and he's reporting that the current wave is expected to fall through September, with 129 people in hospitals projected on September 21, and then he's reporting it's going to start climbing again in October, but no other forecast than that. So, unless you have questions, that's all I've got for you.
Thank you for being with us, Eric. Any questions for Eric Swanson?
Absolutely.
So, Eric, I've got one.
Okay.
And I always ask you these questions that probably should be asked of an epidemiologist, but I know you're one of the smartest people in Tillamook County, so I ask these questions anyway. So Josephine and Jackson counties down south, they are still at their peak. Is there a reason for that? I keep thinking that maybe it might be because of their vaccination rates. Do you have any thoughts at all on that?
You know, I don't, because, last time when I reported a couple weeks ago, in his previous report, Josephine and Jackson were still at peak, and I don't have any clear picture on that whatsoever. And I've seen no data. I look at the OHA data every single day, but I don't see anything specific that calls them out. In fact, other counties have higher like I looked at, was it Gilliam County this week has the highest rate of infection. But again, that's because they're a victim of small numbers. So I just don't have any clue on why Jackson and Josephine continue to remain high.
Interesting. Thank you so much for that,
Yeah.
Eric. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to the Coastal Caucus. I know we have Representative Gumbert and Representative Weber with us. I'm not sure about Senator Anderson or Senator Armitage. At this point, I'll just turn it over to the Coastal Caucus. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Good. Well, it's been a great week in Tillamook and all up and down the coast with all of the events that have been happening. But I will tell you that the most exciting news that I saw this morning was on the front page of the Oregonian. The front page of the Oregonian has a feature article on the new generation of our dory fleet. And there, right on the front page, is Sean Farstead from South County, who is working with rebuilding dory boats, building dory boats, and then there is a great article on the history of the dories and the fleet and the people who are involved in keeping that alive in South County. So if you have an opportunity to get the Oregonian, you know how the Oregonian is. Sometimes it's not very fat, few pages, but today the pages are really important because they're featuring Tillamook County, and I want to say especially congratulations to Sean Farstead for what he has done for the dory fleet and the dories. Other than that, I've had a busy week. I had a tour of the forest up in Clatsop County with ODF, and it was really interesting to see the science involved in sustainable forest practices, and it really assured me that our forests have the ability to thrive, and people are paying attention, and things I saw were logging, road building, the parks up there for horse camping and for ATVs, and then the stream and river and fish protection that they're involved in. I saw the rock pits and what they use all of the rock and the natural materials for in that area. We looked at spotted owl habitat and what's happening with that, how they are basically just vanishing in spite of the protections that we have afforded them. So all in all, it was a wonderful day, and any person who is doubtful of our forest practices in the Northwest should definitely take a tour of the forest and see how they are using science to enhance the livability of our forests and the future of our forests. Other than that, continuing meetings on housing and education, and I've spent a great deal of time addressing constituent concerns because there are a lot of folks out there that have problems that they are frustrated with and they reach out for solutions, and I'm hoping to help them. Some of them I can, and some of the issues are just too large to be able to be tackled. And I'm also spending this week educating myself on educational options, charter schools and online education, and that is very interesting, the options that are available to people and where these schools originate from and how many people they serve, how many students they serve, and the challenges that they see with the education workforce especially. So with that, enjoy the sunny day. I really appreciate the opportunity to update you on things that are happening. And, you know, it's coming to the end of summer, and don't forget our farmers markets. We have 3 farmers markets that are very delightful within our county, and the ability to go out and find that bounty and enjoy it is exemplary. So, good morning, everybody. Have a great one.
Thank you, Representative Weber. Appreciate that very much. Let's go to Representative Gomberg.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Fillmore
morning.
County. I appreciate Representative Weber mentioning that great article in the Oregonian this morning. I don't get the Oregonian, but I did read it online. And I'll remind folks, if you want to take a look at that story, go to Oregon Live, and you can take a look at it on your computer if you don't have easy access to the newspaper. Well, Commissioners, I wanted to start this morning with some sad but important news. Logan Taylor and Colin Hagren, two young firefighters, lost on the fire line in the last 10 days. Logan Taylor died on the Rum Creek fire, Colin Hagren on the Big Swamp fire. That's an important reminder that fire season is upon us, that it's serious, that it's dangerous, and that people are making sacrifices to beat those fires back. We need to do our part by being very cautious and obeying the burn bans, the campfire bans, the firework bans, being careful with cigarettes, target shooting, on and on and on. Sadly, most of the fires in Oregon continue to be caused by people rather than by nature. The good news on the fire front is that we are having a dramatically reduced fire season from what we saw a year or certainly 2 years ago. The number of fires is lower. The number of acres on fire is dramatically lower. I'd like to think that much of that is a reflection of legislation we passed in the last 2 years trying to mitigate the potential for fire risk. I'll give you an example of that, Commissioners. Most of you will recall growing up that the fire towers and people that were stationed in the woods and scanning the horizon for smoke. And of course, we don't do that anymore. Instead, we're replacing them with a whole series of electronic fire spotting cameras that are out in these locations. And they are spotting the fires more quickly. They're covering more area. They're certainly costing less because we don't have to station people there during the summer. And the expansion of those fire cameras is making a difference in getting to the fire sooner and containing them more quickly. If you subscribe to my weekly newsletter, I provided a link to where the public can go and take a look at those cameras, and it's just remarkable, but also the opportunity to be a fire spotter yourself and scan these various areas around Oregon. Anyway, fires are not as bad as we've seen the last couple of years, but we're just getting into the fire season, so we need to remain vigilant, and we certainly mourn the loss of those first responders out there on the line, 2 of whom gave their lives in the last 10 days. On a much brighter note, I will tell you on Sunday I was able to drop by the delightful Nesteca Artisan Fair at the Coanda Community Center in Pacific City. My gosh, a wonderful collection of local artists and local art from up and down the Central Coast. Just a reminder there that that art and culture and live music making a difference in our communities. They are supporting tourism, they're creating jobs, and they're certainly enhancing our quality of life, our joy of life. Art is not just a hobby, a part-time avocation these days. It's a major but subtle part of our cultural industries, and that was on full display at the Coanda Community Center this past weekend. Commissioners, I wanted to mention for you something I think you'll find very important, and that is that legislation that we passed last session providing $10 million for our local county fairs is now finally starting to reach our local county fairs. We put out $10 million, and the Fair Association, working with legislators and representatives of our local fairs, made the decision that they would disperse these dollars on an equal basis, every county getting the same amount of money. I'd call that good news for smaller counties, because that means that the big counties didn't suck up all the dollars, and each and every county fair getting close to $300,000 for infrastructure and capital improvements. I believe in Tillamook County they're using that for a lot of sorely needed electrical work at the fair, so that's good news. One final thing I wanted to share with you today, and this is for any of you that are leaning in close to the radio this morning, straining to hear that the federal government has made some changes in the policy regarding hearing aids. You know, under the current rules, you need to get a prescription in order to get a hearing aid, and that means an examination and then a fitting and going through the process that could cost thousands and thousands of dollars. But the federal government has changed that so that now that you can get non-prescription hearing aids over the counter at your grocery store or at your retail store. Think of it like reading glasses, that you can pick up reading glasses without a prescription, but if you need something more serious, you still need to go to an optometrist and get an examination and a prescription. So that's a change going on that I think is going to make hearing aids much more accessible to the many, many people that could use them. My wife certainly thinks I could use one, and get those available to you at a much reduced cost, unless you have a serious hearing impairment and need more cautious care. So I'll share those 4 items with you. In closing, I'll just remind people that summer is winding down. We're going to be starting school very soon. So to all of the students and the parents, the educators and staff out there, I'd say enjoy these beautiful fading days of summer. School is right around the corner, and we wish everybody a healthy, safe, and productive school year as we get started in the next few weeks. That's what I've got for you, Commissioners, unless you've got some questions for us.
Thank you, Representative Gomberg. Appreciate that very much. Do we have any questions for any of our Coastal Caucus members? I would just like to make a couple of points here. I know both Representative Gomberg and Representative Weber mentioned a couple of things that are near and dear to my heart. First, of course, is the Dory Fleet out of Pacific City. And the Dory Fleet is just a historic, iconic picture that you have in your mind about Pacific City and Cape Kiwanda. Something that's been going on there for over a century. And again, it's if you've never seen a dory boat launch or come back onto the beach, it's truly amazing. And you can actually walk down to the beach at times and you can buy fish or crab directly off of some of these boats if they have an abundance. It's just a terrific thing to have happen. Both also Street. This is near and dear to my heart. Representative Weber mentioned forest roads. Forest roads are absolutely vital, and decommissioning forest roads is one of the worst mistakes I think we could ever do. If you have a forest fire starting somewhere in the backcountry, if you don't get to that fire quickly and try to put it out, you're not going to, and it'll turn into a conflagration. That's why leaving forest roads and maintaining forest roads is extremely important. And Representative Gomberg mentioned the horrible deaths that we had, and 2 firefighters in the state of Oregon fighting fires. There are many times where I do not agree with things that the Oregon Department of Forestry does. But when it comes to fighting fires, I want no one other than the Oregon Department of Forestry fighting those fires. The bravery, the professionalism of these men and women that are out there on the front lines is truly incredible. We don't get that from U.S. Forest Service. We don't get that from BLM. ODF does just such a terrific job on fighting fires. That's absolutely what I want. One other thing that I'll mention very quickly, spotted owl. Representative Weber mentioned the spotted owl. Council of Forest Trust Land Counties recommended an alternative to the Habitat Conservation Plan, and that was controlling the barred owl. That's the only way that we saw that the spotted owl had a chance of surviving. Our alternative was not even considered, and that's because the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service claimed it was an experimental process. Well, guess what? 3 weeks ago, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service put out a request for comment for a new system of barred owl control to help save the spotted owl. So apparently they don't think it's experimental anymore. They are going to start a barred owl removal program, and that's why the next 45 days or so they're asking for public comment on that. So again, we go around and around and around sometimes with the Department of Forestry, but I just wanted to make those points, and I wanted to thank Representative Gomberg and Representative Weber for bringing those up. So thank you so much. Let's move on. Item number 4, Tillamook County Community Health Center. And with us this morning, we have either or Marlene Putman or Ed Colson.
Good morning, Commissioner. This is Marlene Putman. It's a pleasure to join you this morning. It's been a little while.
Good morning. It has been a while. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, Ed is out of the work today, out of the office, and so I'm covering for the events which I've been reporting on for so long. It is kind of nice to be here. So on our COVID-19 status, in Tillamook County, community level transmission is high, with 14 positive cases and a test positivity rate of 24.6% recorded over the last 7 days. So that was from August 14th to August 20th. So by way of reminder, following the COVID-19 safety guidance can help reduce the spread of COVID-19 still. So if you're planning to attend a large gathering or an event, it is highly recommended to follow the guidelines. So monitor yourself for signs and symptoms of illness and test if you have symptoms, have had close contact with a confirmed COVID-19 case, or after attending an event or gathering. Wear a mask indoors in public and outdoors if the area is really crowded, so you're unable to keep that 6 foot space distance between yourself and others. Always, if possible, stay up to date on COVID-19 vaccines. You are protected best from COVID-19 when you stay up to date on the recommended vaccines. Those that should and could receive vaccines, everyone 6 months old and older is eligible for the initial COVID-19 vaccine series. Everyone 5 years and older should get 1 booster after the completion of a series. And the ages 50 and older and those immunocompromised should get 2 booster doses. COVID-19 vaccines are available throughout the community and at the Community Health Center by appointment, at the Safeway Pharmacy, the Fred Meyer Pharmacy, Tillamook Pharmacies, also at Adventist Health and the Reinhardt Clinic. For information for the Health Center, you can call our 503-842-3940 number if you have questions or want more information. Also, I've had a couple calls about the Novavax. It is available at our Health Center clinic. You just call our main scheduling line at 842-3900 for an appointment. It's also available through the Oregon Health Authority at some of the high-volume vaccine clinics in Beaverton and other areas in Multnomah County. Just a note that this is the protein-based vaccine receiving its emergency authorization in July for use among adults in the United States. So with the hope also that it would drive uptake among those who are skeptical of the messenger RNA shots that were with Moderna and Pfizer. If you got questions again about that, you can give us a call. There may be additional precautions needed for people at high risk of severe disease, so talk to your healthcare provider or contact the support line with OHA. And if you really have some questions with your healthcare provider and can't get through, you can always call our number as well. Just a reminder about if you test positive for COVID-19, because it can still really make people nervous, follow the isolation guidelines. So stay at home for at least 5 days from the start of symptoms or positive test results without symptoms, and seek treatment as soon as possible. So we're going to keep our COVID-19, as we have been, shorter as we see things change over time. A couple of updates on events. So on August 31st, we're hosting an International Overdose Awareness Day in the 2nd Street Plaza in downtown Tillamook from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. This annual campaign aims to end overdose and remember without stigma those who have died, and really acknowledge the grief of the family and friends left behind. We will be hosting a resource fair for local organizations, a Narcan training and distribution of kits, as well as refreshments and some activities there. So if you would like to join us, please do so on that date on August 31st. And last, just a reminder about scheduling your annual wellness exams for yourself and your family. As we move closer to September, school is starting, flu season's coming. It's a good time to check on your overall health by completing a wellness exam. And for kiddos, it may be required, and is required actually for sports, but may be required for your school. So check that out for any of your local healthcare providers. With the health center, we'll be providing wellness exams for all ages and offering, in some cases, a gift certificate for those that are eligible between now and December 31st. You can call us at our phone number at 842-3900. Also, for people that are not sure or think their status may have changed with their health insurance, we can assist with our health plan assisters and our care coordinators. And if you don't have insurance, we have a sliding fee scale for services based on income. So wanted to share that information as well and encourage everybody to exercise those precautions and get your wellness exams. And thank you, Eric, for the update on the hospital bed capacity. That's always something that people are anxious about with high test positivity. And that's the end of my report today, but happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning, Marlene. Do we have any questions for Marlene Putman? Again, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. So it's my understanding that Gail Nelson with Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy is not able to be with us this morning. Let's move on to Tillamook Family Counseling Center. Frank Hanna Williams. Frank, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Had to quickly get back off of mute there. Good morning, Commissioners. This is Frank Hanna Williams, Director of Tillamook Family Counseling Center and Behavioral Health Services for Tillamook County residents. You can reach us for information regarding services and concerns or issues related to appointments by calling 503-842-8201 or 1-800-962-2851. I want to just also point out that as we ease towards September, that September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and we have a number of things that we will be involved with in the community in relation to that. And one of those is highlighting our Question, Persuade, Refer program, which helps to support people learning about things that they can do in their communities and in their families and with their friends in relation to supporting them when they may have a period when they are expressing feelings about harming themselves. We have the QPR program that we're doing on September the 9th. It has received a tremendous amount of positive support from the community. And if you are interested in that and signing up for that and finding out more about that offering here at the agency, we would ask that you give us a call and ask for the prevention coordinator, Janine Krongas, and she'd be more than happy to talk with you a little bit about what QPR is about and also to sign you up for that offering. Again, it's September the 9th, 10 to 11:30. It's a very interesting format it's an online format, and again, I think I mentioned this last week that over the past year and a half that pretty close to 230 people in Tillamook County residents have been able to take advantage of that. So we'd like to start the next year off with the same enthusiasm about this. And so if people are interested, they can give us a call about that. Again, 503-842-8201 and 1-800-962-2851. And I'll take any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Frank. Any questions for Frank Hanna Williams?
This is Commissioner Scar, and I don't have a question, but I just really wanted to encourage people to take the QPR training. I took it last year, and I think a lot of times when we think about suicide prevention, it's a very scary thing to think that, am I going to ask somebody, are you considering suicide? But what they teach you is they teach you how to ask some very simple gently probing questions to help someone who might be in that mind frame talk to you. And it's not that direct. You don't just say, oh my God, are you going to kill yourself? It really is an opportunity to gently ask. And you get the chance to practice that a little bit so you can feel confident in how you would approach someone if you had a concern. You also get all of the resources you need should someone say, I really am having a hard time and I have thought about it, so that you know where to send them. So how to help them at that point. Because I think that's another scary part when you think about asking someone that question, because you think, what if they say yes, right? So this training walks you through all of those paces and gives you the information you need to really be supportive in your community. So I really want to encourage everyone to take advantage of the QPR training. It is important. We do have a high rate of suicide in Tillamook County, and it's something that every time we have one in our community, we all think, how do we stop this? How do we change this pattern? Well, this is one of the ways we do it, by getting involved and getting the information and the training so we can be a helper. So I just wanted to support that and encourage as many people as possible to take that training. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scar.
Thank you, Mr. Scar. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you both. So let's move on to the Sheriff's Office. Do we have Sheriff Brown with us this morning?
Good morning. I am here today.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. So as I'm sure that most people are aware, the Sheriff's Office and many other agencies that assisted took action on the Tillamook River Road encampment last week. We will end up having a full press release with more details in it, but I thought maybe I could go over some of the things that may not be in the press release and or answer any questions about it. First off, I want to make sure that everybody understands that we were not ignoring the Tillamook River Road encampment. There's a lot of rules and laws that have been recently passed that really tie our hands and limit our ability to take action in situations like this. What happened with this is that it was one of the most egregious camps that we have in terms of littering and debris and hazardous materials that were being strewn about, and it was getting larger and larger with more people coming in, more garbage, more debris, and got to a point where action had to be taken. So the other thing is all the factors that go into it. You know, obviously we have housing at our jail, we have costs that are associated with this. This is not an inexpensive venture. We wanted to give the suspects every opportunity to try to remedy the situation themselves, and we did give them ample time to do so. We actually gave them warnings. We did actually issue citations over the course of the last handful of months. So as I said, there is a tremendous amount that goes into it, a lot of factors that must be considered, and what it all boiled down to or accumulated into was the action that we took last week. There are questions about other areas in our county, and I can give about all I can say at this point is rest assured we are aware of them and we are working towards them. We do have to look at each individual site or encampment individually, and we have to assess it, and we have to follow the laws and make sure that we are not violating anybody's rights or violating any laws. And we have all the same factors that we had to consider for the Tillamook River Road situation. We have to consider those factors in every situation that we come across. So we are trying to do our part to hold persons accountable for things like littering or environmental hazards, things of that nature, all while trying to follow the law and stay in line with rights that they have. So, like I said, we should be having a full press release with far more details in it, and that's just kind of a broad overview, kind of touching on why it took so long, why we took action now, factors that were considered, and this extends to the numerous other encampments that we have across our county. I do want to specifically thank all the different agencies that were a part in it. The Commissioner's Office did help, the District Attorney's Office, We had solid waste and public works out there at very short notice to do the final cleanup, to remove hazardous materials and pick up the last of the garbage and debris after all of the items of value to the suspects were removed. I'm certain that I'm forgetting others. And actually there's a big one that was there. I was in good communication with CARE. CARE was extremely helpful. They actually were on scene with us and helped with the situation, because I think that is a critical component to situations like these that must be considered. Parole and probation was on scene as well, because some of these suspects were on probation. So thank you to all those agencies. If I forgot anybody, I apologize, but I'm glad that we were able to do that. And again, considering all the factors that we have to consider, we're going to continue to move forward to try to get our county back to being the beautiful county that it is. I can take any questions, and that would be the end of my report.
Thank you so much, Sheriff. Do we have any questions for Sheriff Brown? So, Sheriff, I just want to thank you and all of your staff in particular for everything that you guys do. I mean, it's great work, difficult work, I know, but thanks so much.
You bet.
Let's move on to emergency
Commissioner,
management. Randy Thor. Randy.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Biggest thing I'm working on this week is our emergency management performance grant. It just barely came open the first part of the month, and they've given us only about 4 weeks to get our application done and turned in for this year's funding. It is due on September 4th. I've just about finished it off, so we should be able to make that deadline with ease. That's the main grant that helps fund my salary, so that's why it became my number one priority. So we can make sure we got the grant funding for that. The other thing I'm working on still is updating our emergency operating plan for the county. A lot of it is just some housekeeping. They've made some changes in our emergency support functions and their numbers and what they do. So a lot of it is just getting things more in line with what FEMA and State Emergency Management has determined on that. They did add a new support function of cyber and infrastructure security, which is a new support function that we have. So we'll have to be adding that in and determining, who's going to spearhead that and who's going to take the ownership of that function in our operation plan. The other thing that we're finishing up with the Board of Commissioners is our ambulance service area. It had its first public hearing last week, and I think there is one more hearing. It's going to be on the 31st at 10 a.m. And if everything goes through on that, the commission will be able to approve that new plan. And after that, I then need to send it to the Oregon Health Authority, and they just do a review of it too, and so they know that we have that service plan in place in our county here in Tillamook. So anyway, that's all I've got for right now, and I can turn it back to Commissioner Yamamoto.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate everything you're doing there. Let's move on to the Board of Commissioners office. Commissioner Bell.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Well, if Sheriff Brown's still on, I wanted to say thank you for the operation on Tillamook River Road. We commissioners had heard from folks for a period of time about local people, about how unhappy they were about that encampment, and we knew that the sheriff's office was working on it, and that it was a lengthy process. And so I just wanted Sheriff Brown to know how grateful not only I am, but also I've heard from a number of constituents who've written back now that it's been cleaned up and said, "Oh, thank you, thank the sheriff, thank you so much." So thank you. People really appreciate your work and are grateful that you took action on that camp. And for myself, I wanted to speak for a moment this morning about the psilocybin service centers that Oregon voters voted in 2020 to approve psilocybin service centers to treat depression. And so if you voted in 2020, you presumably voted on that. Oregon voters approved it. Last week, the Board of County Commissioners approved an order to put it back on the ballot for Tillamook County voters to issue a temporary ban on psilocybin service centers and farms, businesses, in unincorporated Tillamook County for 2 years or until we come back to it, because in our estimation, we're not ready for that. What we voted on, what we approved, this happens not infrequently actually, that there's an initiative on the ballot that's really a good idea, but it's not fleshed out yet, and that's what happened here. So there is science that indicates that psilocybin in microdoses can be helpful to people with depression and PTSD. And I'm not questioning that. I don't think any of Tillamook County commissioners are questioning that. But what we approved when we voted on that is that there would be treatment centers, there would be clinics where it's clinically administered, there would be licensed clinicians who are trained, who know how to do it and know what the risks are, etc. And so, but none of that has happened yet. So we're simply not ready for it. We don't, Oregon Health Authority, the state organizations are working on rules to determine how those things will work, but we haven't seen them yet. We don't have them yet. And in the meantime, time is marching forward, and the law goes into effect the 1st of January. So what we're afraid will happen is that the law will go into effect, and entrepreneurs who are already working on their new business models for psilocybin will open their doors, and we won't be ready. And in addition to that, there's the issue of the threat of black market crime. And so why I mention that is because when Oregon voters legalized marijuana, one of the unintended consequences of that is that we now have black market criminal organizations growing marijuana in Oregon and selling it other places. And so, the Oregon Department of Agriculture can't keep up with that. The OLCC can't keep up with that because we legalized it in Oregon, so it's legal to grow pot in Oregon. And so that's a great big loophole that criminals are taking advantage of. And we don't want to see that happen with psilocybin. So we're not saying that there isn't promise for depression treatment with psilocybin. We're not saying that we're opposed to, I've read articles about people who really want to be able to take advantage of this treatment, and personally, I support any kind of treatment that will be effective for depression or PTSD. But as a government, as a state, we're not ready for that. We don't have the tools in place that we voted on. So it'll go back to Tillamook County voters in November. And, we also commissioners don't have the right or the ability to reverse something that you voted on. So it'll go back to Tillamook County voters, and we're just asking you, take another look at it, and do you want to wait? And if you don't want to wait, then it'll go forward anyway. So we're just asking the community, take another look. We don't think we're ready. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, Commissioner Bell. Commissioner Scar.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner Bell, for that deep discussion there. I think that we'll probably talk about this a few times leading up to the upcoming vote. One thing I would add is that our request for you to take a pause before we implement this is for the unincorporated parts of Tillamook County, and the city of Tillamook will also have a ballot measure on your ballot if you live within the bounds of the city of Tillamook, with essentially the same wording, asking for a temporary pause in the city limits of Tillamook as well. So just in terms of the confusion that may come up when folks get their ballot and say, why is it on here twice? Recognizing that the county has jurisdiction over unincorporated and cities have jurisdiction over the areas within their own boundaries. So again, I'm sure we'll talk about this at least once or twice more before the actual election comes. I was out on vacation for part of last week, so I don't have a whole lot to share, but I wanted to highlight an upcoming meeting that we have scheduled. It is a community meeting to bring people together to talk about the Alderbrook Golf Course, which, as many of you know, is currently closed and the property is for sale. And we've received lots and lots of calls and emails and outreach from the community saying, can the county help? What can we do? So we don't foresee the county purchasing the property, which is what some people have suggested, but we do see a lot of people who want to help, who would like to find an investor group perhaps, or form an investor group. So we're going to go ahead and host a public meeting August 31st at 2 p.m. It will be at Tillamook Bay Community College, and there will also be a call-in option using the county number that we use for these calls and meetings and so forth. If folks want to listen in or participate, if you think that you have the best idea for what should happen on the golf course and potentially a way to make that happen, we'd love to hear from you. I think the community is feeling very strongly that this is a community resource in spite of the fact that it is a privately owned business at this time and is for sale. So I just want to let folks know that meeting will be coming up, and if you are looking for the link, you can always go to the calendar on the web page of the county, and the link will be there when the meeting is ready to occur. So with that, I will turn it back to you, Commissioner Yamamoto. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scar. Appreciate that. I'll be brief. I took a lot of time when our Coastal Caucus was speaking. I want to just address a couple of things. First of all, the Netarts Oceanside Sanitation District spill in Netarts Bay. So the ODA, Oregon Department of Agriculture, imposed pause on any harvesting of oysters in Netarts Bay should end this Friday. These oyster growers have gone through a very, very difficult 3 weeks. This is kind of their peak season for oyster consumption. And so once this ends on Friday, you should see fresh oysters back on the marketplace, back in your restaurants soon after that. And I would encourage everybody, if you like oysters, please help support our oyster growers. They do a terrific job. They produce a product that is unsurpassed on the Oregon coast. And I think we need to support them every way that we can. Just one other thing. I am a member of OBAC, the Oregon Broadband Advisory Council, and the new reconfigured OBAC is having their first meeting this coming Thursday, day after tomorrow at 10 a.m. And you can attend virtually. Just go to Business Oregon and look up OBAC, Oregon Broadband Advisory Council, and you'll be able to find the link where you can log on and watch the meeting. And this is trying to make sure that the Oregon Cybersecurity Center of Excellence really does get funded in this coming legislative session. As you recall, Tillamook County went through a horrible situation. This was almost 3 years ago, where we did get hacked, and that was a very, very difficult time for the county. We had to shut all of our systems down for at least a week, if not a little more. So again, this is also important to me, especially as a member of OBAC. So that's something that we'll continue to work on also moving forward. So with that, let's go to the cities. City of Manzanita, Mike Scott. Mike, are you with us?
Yes, good morning. I have no updates this morning. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Mike. Appreciate it very much. How about the City of Nehalem? Do we have Melissa Thompson-Kiefer or any other city councilors from Nehalem? City of Wheeler, do we have Mayor Doug Honeycutt or City Manager Mary Johnson? Rockaway Beach, Mayor Sue Wilson. City of Garibaldi, Mayor Tim Hall. Anyone from Garibaldi? City of Bay City, Mayor David McCall. David. Very quiet from the cities this morning. How about the City of Tillamook? City Manager Nathan George.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. I want to say good morning to you and everyone else. In the police department, the Tillamook Police Department enjoyed the opportunity to work with members of the Tillamook County Sheriff's Office during the course of the county fair and provide an additional law enforcement presence to make sure everyone had a safe and fun time. We greatly appreciate having an excellent working relationship with our partner law enforcement agencies, especially the county and the state, and received a lot of good comments on seeing our teams work together at such a large event. Excuse me. The city invested in handheld wand metal detectors for every patrol vehicle, as the TPUD found the screaming deal at only $20 a piece. These will be used to help keep everyone safer when conducting searches and other security functions. So we now have one for every single patrol vehicle. And the police department received the Bronze Star Award for the second year in a row from Lexipol, the company that manages our police policy manual. This means our agency has good, strong policy basis, which helps protect our police department and all residents and citizens of our city, as they must adhere to those. The police department is completing a final transition to uniformity in our standard issue equipment, the last being cost-effective yet practical hard pouches that are weather resistant. And last month, the police department transitioned to the new Tillamook Police Department patch, which was actually designed by the officers in our department. It's really important that our officers look uniform and are able to provide that representation to our community. In the Public Works Department, the raw water line, this is a new water line, not new water line, but bringing in fresh water, connection on Hurlman Hill was successfully tied in yesterday. This is a major milestone for this project. It means that the Fawcett Creek will soon be online again. It has been offline for over 8 years. Thursday at 4 a.m., this Thursday, Public Works crews will be inspecting a failing major sewer main line at the intersection of First Street and Pacific Avenue. This inspection will determine the repairs needed. If this main line fails, it could potentially shut off everything from Main Street to the end of First Street, including 2 churches, the county building, care, the post office, Tillamook School District, and several households. These repairs are very critical, very crucial, and we ask for your patience as the city works on this situation. We are in the process of cleaning the 9th Street Park, which is Coatesville Park, and Carnahan Park bathrooms. If you see any vandalism or suspicious activity, please contact the non-emergency number at 503-815-1911. If you witness an emergency, please call 911 immediately. Our wastewater treatment plant crew will be also cleaning clarifiers this week. Clarification is the final stage of wastewater treatment before the water goes into the river. So cleaning the clarifiers is a routine maintenance procedure to ensure high water quality. Staff will be installing a new water service on 10th Street this week. Public Works crew adjust potholes on Apple Street, 9th Street, and Chestnut Avenue and Meadow Lane. Please contact Public Works at tillamookor.gov. That's Public Works, all one word, at tillamookor.gov with any concerns, questions, or report potholes or any other Public Works related item, which is stormwater, streets, and parks. This is a new email that I set up earlier this year to ensure that all Public Works items are being responded to and followed up on as soon as possible. That email goes to several people to ensure that we have it taken care of. Reminder that anyone wanting to run for City Council needs to contact the City Recorder's Office and submit their application, which is due by August 30th, 2022 at City Hall. Currently, the Mayor's position, Ward 2, Ward 4, Ward 5, and Ward 6 are up for re-election. There are several steps involved, such as obtaining signatures. For any questions on regarding service as elected officials, please contact the City Recorder's Office. And thank you very much, Commissioner. That's all I have.
Thank you, Nathan, as always, for being with us here. Last but certainly not least, let's go to South County. Do we have Doug Olson with us? Doug. And Doug, if you are, I see you, you are muted. And I know I'll be seeing Doug in just about a half an hour. We have a Tillamook Lightwave meeting this morning, so he may be on his way and he may be in a dead spot. So with that, I want to thank everyone for attending our weekly Tuesday community update. But very special thanks to KTIL for broadcasting live again every Tuesday. We appreciate that so much. So with that, time being 8:55 a.m., we will adjourn this community update. Thank you, everyone.